Hi Experience, I'm Nancy Hornback, and I'm so happy to be with you today. At Experience, we believe God is better experienced than explained, and to me, that means no matter where we are in our faith journey, we can be a part of this community and ask questions. Be sure to say hi in our chat window so we can connect with you and let us know how we can be praying for you. If you're new, have questions, or would like more information, you can text ECCInfo to 94000. Today, we'll be hearing an engaging message, have the opportunity to take communion together, and listen to some encouraging music. At the end of our service, we'll be learning about other ways to connect. Have a great experience.
Hey, I'm Matt Silver, one of the pastors here at Experience, and thank you so much for investing your time with us. Whether you're watching on our website, Facebook, or YouTube at 10 a.m., or you're checking this out on demand, I appreciate you and hope to connect with you in the future. Well, I'm standing here in my living room next to our Christmas tree because we are kicking off this new series called Unexpected Christmas. A few of my favorite things about this tree is the ribbon that Carrie made. She did this by hand back when we were first married in 2002, and she painstakingly wrote out the Luke narrative all over that ribbon. The other is our non-matching ornaments. This tree also serves as a yearbook of sorts because it allows we've allowed our children to pick out ornaments every single year. And boy, they've come up with some doozies. Some remind us of trips we've taken. Others take us back to their favorite characters or action heroes. And let's just say, some of these ornaments, they appear at the back of the tree every single year. Well, this year, 2020 feels different. Like many of you, we decorated early. We wanted to mix things up, do something unexpected to bring out something good in the midst of all these unexpected things. And talk about uncertainty. How was your Thanksgiving? With relatives out of the state, everything was different about ours. This year, it was just the five of us. And a trip to my parents and a trip to see my in-laws, they were both canceled. Our meal wasn't this big spread cooked by my sister-in-law, Angie. It was brought from a store on Wednesday and reheated for Thursday. I didn't jump in the car Thursday night to go shopping for doorbusters and then wake up early to go out again on Friday. Nope, gifts were purchased online. It was completely unexpected this Thanksgiving. Christmas, it looks like it will dismantle many of my favorite holidays and traditions. The same will be true for you. You know, unexpected things, they can frustrate us. Change can be painful, but unexpected things can also be good things if we don't let the disruptions distract us from the most important things. This Christmas season as a church, we're going to be looking at the Christmas story and looking for the unexpected. The unexpected things that we often miss due to the familiarity of the story. This story has become predictable for us. Some of you grew up with a church tradition where you acted out half these parts in a church play every year. You may have went out for Mary and Joseph, but you ended up wearing this crazy white gown or a brown bathrobe, and you were called an angel or shepherd. I'm still a little bitter about it. I never made the part of Joseph. That's why I abandoned my dream for Broadway. Maybe it would have happened. Maybe you didn't go to church, but you learned this story and you heard it every year from Linus in the Peanuts. You heard it talking on TV. You know, many of us, we're familiar with Jesus' birth and death, but maybe not too much of what happened in between. Some of you, you're here today watching this because you've been guilted into it. You lost a bet, you're trying to score some points with the person sitting next to you, but regardless of why you're here today, I hope something unexpected happens, that you will see this Christmas story through fresh eyes. For many, this is nothing more than a fairy tale or a feel-good story. But this is much bigger than that, much more real than that, more tangible than that. The narratives about Jesus found in the books of the Bible are not the stuff of fairy tales or fables. These are moments of history, and this includes the stories of Jesus' birth. I'll give you three things that make it different. For one thing, the accounts of his birth are full of concrete details. There are the names of places: Nazareth, Bethlehem, Jerusalem. There are names of actual people: Emperor Augustus, King Herod, Prince Archelaus. And there are references to specific events: the census, the cruelty of Herod. Second, these concrete details have all been verified in historical writings from outside Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And these events did not take place in some wonderland or in a galaxy far, far away. The main players are not imaginary characters in some fantasy. No, these are real. And third, the people and places and events of the Gospels are confirmed by the most trusted historians of the first century. The respected Jewish historian Josephus, the great Roman historians Tacitus and Suetonius. They confirm Jesus' existence and ministry and trials and even crucifixion. So we confidently ask the same questions about Jesus as we would any other figure in human history. When, where, who, what, and why. And over the next several weeks, we'll be focusing on the book of Luke, and in particular, the second chapter. Again, we'll be looking at it through a different lens this year. We'll be looking for unexpected situations. The first Christmas, it was full of the unexpected. And I want you to lean in and listen to the story as I read it now. In those days, Caesar Augustus issued a decree that a census should be taken of the entire Roman world. This was the first census that took place from Quirinius was governor of Syria. And everyone went to their own town to register. So Joseph also went up from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to to Bethlehem, the town of David, because he belonged to the house and line of David. He went there to register with Mary, who was pledged to be married to him and was expecting a child. While they were there, the time came for the baby to be born, and she gave birth to her firstborn, a son. She wrapped him in cloths and placed him in a manger because there was no guest room available for them. Yes, that's the beautiful, familiar story. But was it beautiful? Really? Did it look like our little nativity sets we have decorated around? Is this the kind of entrance you would expect the Son of God to make as he entered the world? Not me. I wouldn't expect the location of Jesus' birth to be determined by an oppressive Roman Empire, telling Mary and Joseph that they needed to leave their homes and go to Bethlehem. For many of us as readers today, this feels like an unexpected trip into Philly. It's inconvenient, but no big deal. Heck, it could even be fun. But this was a major disruption. This was completely unexpected. Ask any woman who's delivered a baby if the place of birth is important to them, if they have a preferred place to be a few days after giving birth. I've never heard of anyone saying, it's no big deal, no biggie. No, expectant mothers, they start doing that whole nesting thing way in advance. They make plans in order to just have everything just right. Well, we could assume that Mary and Joseph had made plans for Jesus to be born in their town of Nazareth. They had an idea of who would be there at that moment, how they would introduce Jesus to loved ones. The midwife, she was lined up. But then something unexpected happened. Their times, their plans, it was all interrupted by Caesar Augustus. He wanted to take a census to be taken. Why? Because he wanted to be able to tax people, their property. He had big plans for that money. Well, the result was very inconvenient and unexpected for Joseph and Mary. They had to leave their home. They left their source of income. They had to go and register themselves under an oppressive regime. This was emotionally taxing on top of the actual taxes. Well, Mary, she's in her third trimester, and traveling is not only uncomfortable, it's dangerous. Could you imagine the conversation taking place between Joseph and Mary? We have to go where? What happens if we mess this thing up? This is God's son I'm carrying in this womb. Do we have to go now? Do we have to obey his orders? But off they go. They travel over 70 miles to Bethlehem. The fastest they could make it would be 4 days. If it was my pregnant wife at the time, it probably would have taken about 2 weeks. We're talking third trimester. Huge. Where every bump equals a repeat of the previous conversation. Why are we doing this again? But again, off they go. And when they arrive, Bethlehem is bustling. The small farming village has become a metropolitan. So many people came to register that there was no room for these weary travelers. If only they had arrived sooner. Again, you hear the narrative. Joseph says, I told you not to do your hair first. I told you we should have been going. She says, it's your fault. If you only had packed the minivan up faster. Sorry, that was my flashback. This wasn't Mary. This was my wife, Carrie. Well, this little town of Bethlehem was full. Privacy would have been hard to come by. So Jesus, he was delivered in a place designed for animals and was placed in a manger, aka a feeding trough. How unexpected was all this? How inconvenient? How is it that an all-powerful God, he humbled himself and was born in the most modest of conditions? But something's missing in this story, the complaining. Those fun antics I explored, there's no talk of that in Bible verses. There's no demanding a room fit for a king, the injustice of having to travel this late. No, there seems to be an acceptance that God is calling the shots and that God is in control. Let me be clear that God is in control of this seemingly out of control time we're finding ourselves in now. Talk about chaos and unexpected things. Reread the Christmas story and think through all the unexpected things in the narrative, many of which are indeed inconvenient. An engaged virgin, Mary, she becomes pregnant out of wedlock. She faces persecution, not only from those in her village, but her soon-to-be married husband, Joseph. He considers divorcing her. The census happens, forcing her to pick up and leave everything she knew. The cast, it's full of social outcasts like shepherds and foreign outcasts from Far East, and Herod's response was unexpected. They had to literally escape to Egypt. These are just some of the unexpected parts of the story that we'll be exploring in this series. But there's something interesting in the story. Although this was unexpected for Mary and Joseph, many of the details were not unexpected to God. He actually predicted and recorded these in advance. This was unexpected for them, but not unexpected for God. This was true in the nativity story, but this is also true in your story. 2020, it's been a year full of unexpected things, one thing after another. No one could have predicted a year like this. A global pandemic, racial unrest, unsettled elections. These events have made us stronger. No, they haven't. They've actually exposed our weakness, our frailty. We've all had moments in our lives when our peace has been shattered. A phone call that we remember vividly and the words shared changed everything. An unforeseen accident, a test result, a confession. I'm not sure what stole your peace, but all of us have faced unexpected hardship. Hardships that took our breath away. We were caught completely off guard. But none of these situations, they surprised God. I'm going to make 3 bold claims that I want you to consider. I'm not asking you to just accept them, but I'm asking you to consider them, to wrestle with them, and here they are. The first one is God is bigger than our biggest problems. The second one is there's no timing like God's timing. And third, God cares for you. All 3 of these truths are found in a verse that I believe will carry us in the midst of every unexpected time and situation we find ourselves in. Please look at this verse with me. It's 1 Peter 5, 6, and 7. It says, "Humble yourselves, therefore, under God's mighty hand, that he may lift you up in due time. Cast all your anxiety on him, because he cares for you." This verse is written by Peter, one of Jesus' closest disciples, a man who knew and lived out a very unexpected life alongside Jesus. He's speaking these from God in a way that we can live them out, in a way that he lived them out. If you're going to make it through unexpected times, you need to first see God as bigger than our biggest problems. Peter, the writer of the text, says, humble yourself. Your problems are bigger than you can handle. My problems and worries are bigger than I can handle. We don't have the capacity to navigate these troubling times in our own strength. But if we humble ourselves, if we say to God, God, this is out of my control, but you can control this. Well, then we find the kind of peace that was displayed in Joseph and Mary in all those uncertainty and all those unexpected things. It's not that the situation was easy, it's just they experienced peace. Peace is found when we allow God to call the shots, when we give him control. The book of Psalms found in the Old Testament said it this way in Psalms 46, 1 and 2. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea. We could look around and see all the unexpected chaos and yet still find ourselves confident in God, that we don't need to be afraid. We can see that God is in control of all of this and that he can hold all this together. It's 2020. The mountains are still here. It's bad, but the mountains are still here. They haven't fallen into the sea. All is not lost. I have a 3-month calendar at which I have to handwrite the dates in, and I was filling in the dates in my planner, and it was just this week. I wrote down 1/1/2021, and it felt so good to write that date down. I was like, 2020, it's almost behind us. Can you believe it? I had a men's group the following night on Monday, and I told them about me writing that down in that journal. And the guy said, well, have you seen this photo yet? And I was like, that's disturbing. Then I was in a different small group the following evening, and Mimi said to me, did you see this one? What if 2020 is just a trailer of 2021? What a thought, right? But we don't know what 2021 is going to hold for us. It's funny. Those things are funny if you believe God is bigger than our problems. However, it's no laughing matter if you see God as incapable of stabilizing this world. Friends, know this. God is bigger than our biggest problems. The second thing we have to remember is there's no timing like God's timing. There in that text again, it says, humble yourselves therefore under God's mighty hand, that he may lift you up in due time. In due time is a reference to God's timing, not mine. Unfortunately, all too often, our timeline and God's timeline don't line up. No one likes an uncomfortable situation, but we hate to feel stuck for days, for months, for seasons in discomfort. But again, this is about trusting God even when we're living in uncertain times. In many ways, 2020 has been completely unexpected. It cracks me up how many businesses and churches use 2020 as a future date for goals to be determined. People will use this term 2020 vision. But in the midst of all those statements, goals, predictions, I don't remember anyone ever saying, I'd like to send my entire workforce home in less than a month to work remotely. I didn't know a minister who said, I have this plan, March 2020, to become a televangelist in just a week. The buildings that we're used to, we're going to stop using them and we're going to be exclusively online. No, we didn't see this coming. We were caught completely off guard. This was unexpected. But you know what's also true? God was not caught off guard. God doesn't become surprised or find himself shocked. God, he's all powerful. He has no limits, including being stuck in time. He exists outside of time. God is never early nor late. He wasn't surprised by the unexpected things that Mary and Joseph faced. He knew they were coming. In fact, he had people record several prophecies that pointed to those future unexpected things. His lineage from David, that he'd be born in Jerusalem, that they would flee to Egypt, and many more. This builds my confidence that God holds my future in his hands, that nothing that happens to me will surprise him. That allows me to exhale and know that he's going to take care of me in whatever chaos lies in my future. You know, God answers every one of our prayers to him in one of three ways: yes, no, and wait. Two of those answers, they feel exactly the same for toddlers if you're raising kids. Do you know which those two are? Sure you do. No and wait. Waiting can be just as painful as hearing the word no. As we feel stuck in quarantine, stuck in 2020, the anxiety that we're facing, when things are uncertain, we naturally question everything. We prepare for the worst case scenarios, but this last point helps us in our anxiety. And it's that God cares for us. He cares for you. Verse 7 says, cast all your anxieties on him because he cares for you. This is where you may push back some smirk and say, well, if God cared for me, why would he have allowed all of this chaos to happen in the first place? Good question, and I don't pretend to know the answer. If I was writing the Christmas story, I would have wrote a completely different narrative. It would have been as pain-free as possible. Jesus, he would have come this year in 2020 and changed the scope of everything. We would have Zoom partied the whole thing. That way no one could deny it. If I chose to have the birth happen back then, well, I would have appeared to Joseph and Mary at the same time. That way no allegations would have been made. I would have had them move to Bethlehem earlier so they could prepare and nest appropriately. But you know what? You get my point. I would have used all my powers to eliminate all the hard things of this birthing account, but I didn't write the Christmas story. God didn't ask my opinion on any of that. I know God knows way more than me. Isaiah 55:8-9 says, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. I love how Rick Warren defines this verse. He says, trying to understand the mind of God is like an ant understanding the internet. If I could understand God's ways, then God is way too small. That's why I anchor myself on words like these. Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. I believe those words because they don't contain any exemption clauses. It doesn't say cast some of your anxiety on him or just the big stuff. Don't do anything hard. Don't cast that to God. No, it says cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. No, God sees and cares for all of us. He wants us to be in a relationship with him, every single one of us. Christmas this year might be unexpected for us this year, but it's not unexpected to God. I hope you'll keep leaning into this series and find yourself surprised by God. But know this, he's not surprised by you. He's not surprised by your frustrations, your doubts, or your pain. Your circumstances may not change entirely, but the way you see them may change entirely. Sometimes, even the unexpected can produce something good. I want you to listen to my friend Nathan share his experience with God over the last couple years.
Hi, I'm Nathan Hartman. Life has been unexpected. Growing up, God was a concept I explored on Sundays. Our family would attend a Lutheran church together. We'd say grace at the meal following, and then never speak of God again until the next Sunday rolled around. At an early age, my mom and dad got divorced. My mom and I stayed close, my dad not so much. In high school, I actually chose to go to church. The youth group appealed to me because I learned that God was personal, that he knew me, that he wanted to have a relationship with me. That wasn't just taught, though. I observed it through male youth leaders and was encouraged, supported, listened, and they helped me kind of formulate what life as a grown man could be like from God's perspective. Having an uber optimistic personality enabled me to fit in and enjoy myself in most circumstances. I saw challenging situations as a way to learn, for my own good or for the good of someone who needed to know that lesson in the future. I had faith that I'd figure life out, that life would teach me things, and that I'd be able to help others as a result of the life I was choosing to lead. So when I found God as a teenager, it was like everything came together, that God had orchestrated this big jigsaw puzzle of my life and fit all the pieces together. Some of those were good, some of them were hard and jagged, some drenched with tears and explosively happy. But 2019 proved to be more than I could handle. My usual positivity drained away as a job loss paralyzed me. I just sit still, not a natural state for me, just kind of waiting for what I wasn't even sure. I love people, I get energized by them, but I'd isolated myself in my home, tucked away from everyone except my kids and my wife, and I just stayed there, content to not move and just sort of sit. It was a long and difficult year, full of challenges, but no end in sight. But I kept moving. I learned a lot about myself, my purpose, and my faith. I learned a lot about what I really wanted from a job, how much I enjoy my family, but mostly it reinforced that God could be trusted and was with us no matter what. I ended the year wondering how it would all fit together. Then 2020. And all of a sudden 2019 made sense. The challenges I worked through in 2019 gave me a better perspective to tackle 2020. And not just the pandemic, as if that wasn't enough, but other personal challenges that have surfaced. 2019 seemed to be our prep work for 2020, and knowing how God worked it all out in 2019 makes us trust that He's doing it again in 2020. We continue to take on the unexpected with a sense of optimism because we know that God can be trusted.
I really appreciate the honesty that Nathan shared about his own struggles, but also his trust in God, even in the midst of hard times. I think we can all resonate with that, can't we? We're going to go into a time where we get the chance to reflect that Jesus not only came as a child, but we reflect on the purpose of why He came. And God sent Him here to offer His self as a sacrifice, allowing us to reconnect with God. Baby grew up. He offers Himself as a sacrifice and provided a way for us to reestablish this relationship with God and give us an opportunity to spend eternity with Him. And so I'd encourage you right now to go grab those communion supplies. Just get a piece of bread or a cracker and juice, and we'll take together in here in just a moment. We're going to give you a minute to reflect on the sacrifice of Jesus, and then we come back, we'll take these two elements together. But I'd also just like for you to think about how can God enter your time and space and provide you with peace, even in the midst of unexpected. We'll give you a minute now to reflect on those things. At this time, let's take the bread representing Jesus' body and the cup representing the blood shed for the forgiveness of sins. And let's pray together. Father God, we're so thankful that every year we have a tradition of honoring you, and we call that Christmas. We remember that you came to this earth, and it also reminds us of the purpose of that. And God, we know that this is so much more than a story where we get to reflect on and exchange gifts. This is a love story about redemption. So thank you for coming and offering a chance for us to reconnect with you. God, thank you for reminding us of your word that nothing is unexpected or too hard or too big for you to handle. So God, whatever angst we're feeling today, whatever uncertainty that is causing us anxiety, we release it to you, into your loving hands, and trust you. We love you, God, and we're thankful for you in Jesus' name. Amen.
I'm Carrie Silver, Director of Ministries at Experience. It's been great to be together today. If you happen to be new at Experience or have any questions, your next step is to text ECCInfo to 94000. It's a great way for us to connect and begin a conversation. Today we started a new series, Unexpected Christmas, and while the story might be a bit familiar, new questions might be coming up for you given this crazy year that we've had. On Tuesday evenings, we gather on Zoom to dig a little deeper into this content, to ask hard questions, and to share doubts. If you would like to check that group out, you can find more info at experiencecc.org/groups. At Experience, we are passionate about generosity and taking care of our community. One of the ways we do this is through a giving tree in the holiday season. Last year, it was a physical tree with tags on it to support foster children in our area and gift bags for Chester County Women's Services. This year, it's a digital sign-up, and here is my friend Rob to tell you about this exciting opportunity.
Hey, Experience Church. My name is Rob Maddox, and I'm with Hopetown. I've been contracting with the county for over 3 years now, caring for vulnerable kids in our backyard. Last year, you all partnered with us. You blessed the socks off of a family that had adopted 5 kids. Thank you so much. I was putting my heart together with Matt and with Carrie, and we were thinking about Experience Church and the impact that you all could have this year. And there are 2 awesome opportunities in front of us. One is to care for the kids in the detention center. Can you imagine a pandemic in a detention center over Christmas? They need to be reminded that God has not forgotten them, that He cares for them, that He loves them. So let's make Christmas special for these kids. The other opportunity is to care for caseworkers. They're on the front lines visiting these kids, trying to learn about their needs and to serve them as best as they can. There's over a dozen foster kids who need a home, so they are working tirelessly. They're going out in a pandemic with their masks on, just trying to help these kids. We can support them. We can let them know how much they're appreciated, that we're praying for them, that we care for them, that we love them, and that they are so essential to this work.
If you would like to show the love of Jesus to caseworkers of Chester County working so hard for families in our community, or for the teens at Chester County Youth Shelter, then please click a link in our chat to sign up for the gifts to be given to them. Saturday, December 12th is our monthly opportunity to serve as a team with Good Works. Good Works helps with home repair for low-income families in our community. You don't have to have any experience or expertise to make an impact on this day. More information about this opportunity is on our website under Serve. If you would like to partner with Experience and our desire to offer a fresh start with God and with church to our community, you can do that at givetoexperience.com. Thank you for joining our service today. Our conversation continues in a lobby on Zoom. Click the link in our chat to connect with others from our community. you.